So what I wanted to say is exactly that. So I wanted to focus inwards and see what we can do, because apart from this panel, actually in Romania, as a community, we haven't done much to get a more diverse community going on, and we haven't even actually had an honest debate about it. So that's the reason why Dan from Killhouse Games is here with us today, also to share his opinion on the need or not need of diversity in the industry. That's the reason also why Liebe is here, because he's been working a lot on women in games in Berlin and in Germany in general. And I think very much my amazing women panelists who are making a great name for themselves, not as women in the gaming industry, but as professionals in the gaming industry. And we're just going to chat with you, the participants as well, about what it means to have more women in the industry and how that can actually be done. How can I say? It's not about political correctness. It's just about some honest truths about these ideas. I will invite participants after each main question. I will invite participants, if they want to have if they want to ask a question, to submit. I don't know how you actually do that. So you actually try to.
It is the button participate. They should hit the participate button.
So hit the participate button.
And wait in the backstage.
Okay, perfect. So let's have a small word from all the panelists. Apart from introducing yourselves, I think the best introduction is, why are you in the gaming industry? So either how you started it, but mostly why are you a woman or a man in the gaming industry? So let's start with my colleague, the co-founder of AMC Romania, but also the co-founder of Women in Games in Romania, who's also the president of Women in Games Romania, Cristina.
Hello, thank you. So my name is Cristina Neamtu. I had no interest in games whatsoever. My husband dragged me into this 100 years ago because he's passionate about games. And we founded our studio, AMC. We create the graphics for wonderful games. And during the years, I just found that it's very much about partnership, about inclusion with women in games. Even if I didn't think about it back then, but it's like in our company, more than 40% now are women. And I don't know if it is because I run the company, or maybe, and in a way I tried to include more women in the company, or maybe just because in Romania we have a lot of talented artists, women and men, boys and girls. So I'm very happy to be here, and hopefully I will go home with some nice suggestions from you, how to use this platform, Women in Games Romania, to create an environment for the new generation for growing and sharing. Thank you.
Exactly, Kate. If you can tell us a few words.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I am in the game industry because, well, I kind of walked backwards into it as a geographer who doing culturalization work on games, so helping game developers adapt their games for international audiences. And I did this at Microsoft years and years ago. I was at Microsoft for 13 years, so I worked on all the Halos and Age of Empires and all that kind of stuff. And that's basically how I started in the game industry. But the reason I stayed in the game industry after I left Microsoft in 2005 is because of the people. I mean, I love the people in this industry. They are my tribe. They are the people I can relate to. I love their talent. I love the amazing things that they do, which is why in my later years in the industry, I've gotten more involved in advocacy work, like running the International Game Developers Association and currently running the Global Game Jam organization, because
That's a great initiative.
Well, thank you. Yeah, because I love the people here, and I love to see more people get into this industry. And I've been fortunate enough to travel around the world to a lot of emerging markets as well, and I just see the amazing talent of all kinds, men, women, all kinds of people you can imagine who are interested in making games. And I think, I have a strong desire to facilitate and help them get into this industry.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Thank you. Jehanne?
It's Joanne. It's okay.
Oh, Joanne.
Never mind. No one knows how to pronounce it, even in French.
Okay.
I'm quite used to it. So I'm Jeanne Rousseau. I'm working in the video game industry since more than 22 years now. I was quite young, and I was mostly writing and drawings, and I was looking for a media that would allow me to make both of these two things I loved. And I was also a player since a very long time. I was playing a lot. And after a while, it makes sense. And I joined a very small indie dev company back then who was developing games on Game Boy. So it was, as you can imagine, a long time ago. And I stayed because it became really my way of expression. It's the way I transmit ideas and I transmit histories. I'm a lot into RPGs, role-playing games. And I used to, with real friends on old pen and paper RPGs, I was used to tell stories and to be the game master. And in some ways, I'm still the game master in video games. So I'm still trying to make stories for others to live them and to experience them. So it's a continuity of that experience. But it's what Kate said before is really true and really important. The people in the industry are also amazing, and that's why I create a company 12 years ago, Spiders. We create that company because we had an amazing team and we still wanted to work together. So I completely agree on that point. Recently, we create a scholarship with some friends of the industry and with a small association in France that is that we create just to support more people to come into the industry. Schools, video game schools in France are very expensive. So the only people that can
Very good.
The only people that can go into these schools are coming from very wealthy family. So we find that point very problematic. It was not the case when I began my career because there was no school back then. So the question was not existing. But now that it exists, we thought it very important to create that scholarship. And we took money from all the studios in France, nearly all of them, and just to be able to finance the studies of young people coming from more, I would say, social disabled area in France. So it was very interesting, and we're still doing it, and that's why this channel sounds so interesting to me, because I really think that we need to act more directly to bring some more different people into the industry.
Thank you so much. Joanne?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Joanne, but it's okay.
Joanne. Dan, that's a very easy name to pronounce. Dan, if you can say a few words as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a woman. So I've been working in this industry for, 19 or 20 years.
You're old.
Yeah. I had a couple of colleagues which were women. I always appreciated their more professional than men, I think. But there's still a bit of a mystery for me. And in the latest years, helping run our own studio. We have some girls working in the studio. They're great, but I'm not entirely sure we are, providing the right atmosphere for them.
That's not true. I'm in the studio as well, and I think they are providing the right atmosphere.
Well, yeah, it's still a boys' club. I'm not sure. I mean, sometimes after years of behaving in a way in an office, you learn that you made people uncomfortable, and maybe it's too late then. Also, I know that for me it's always, hey, you want to work on our game? Okay, let's work. I never consider how we should bring more people. I don't consider it enough, because for me, people should be passionate about it and find their way in the industry. But maybe we can actively work to bring more people that would be helpful for us. I know that due to our boys' games that we develop, we might push people away. And I don't have a problem with that, because I don't want to change the games that we're working on. But for sure, our games could benefit from, the point of view, maybe of other people, So, and you know what I'm talking about, the female hostages in Action Squad. For boys, maybe they're, like a funny joke, but I'm not sure if a girl plays the game.
That's the first thing I noticed, actually, when I played your game. Yeah, Action Squad. I really liked it, but the first thing I noticed was like, why are the hostages only like blonde women?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We had to pick something, and let's just not get myself kicked from this panel.
No.
Yeah. So I want to learn more about this stuff, if possible. And also, as I was explaining backstage, as a father of two girls, I really want to make sure that this industry, if it can be better for women, I want it to be.
Thanks, Dan. Michael. So notice that I didn't say Michael, I said Michael, because I know he's German, and I think that's a good one. We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Well, let's say
No,
while you figure it out, maybe Leanne can. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I can go. My name's Leanne. I head up Riot Forge, which is Riot Games' third-party publishing division. We're working with a variety of developers to make League of Legends games on console and on PC, but more focused on kind of story-driven experiences. I'm also an ambassador for Women in Games, and so it's been definitely a passion of mine to bring more females into the game industry, or just more diversity in general. So I'm a big advocate of that. Really want to help from younger ages as well, making sure that when girls are at school, they know that these are some opportunities that exist. And it's not just programming or engineering. There are other opportunities to make video games, whether that's in art or in marketing. So I think being able to make those things more visible to girls at a younger age, I think is really important. I mean, for me, I've been making games 17, 18 years now, and similar to Jehanne. I might not pronounce that right, sorry. Back then, we didn't have any video game courses at school either. There was nothing like that. So we kind of just had to figure it out ourselves. I got into the industry through video game testing for free. I just did that in my spare time, and then that turned into an actual job, and managed to start my career that way through game testing and then move up into production. But now there's a ton of different courses you can do, whether that's design or game analytics or game marketing, which is amazing. But also we need to kind of educate people at a younger age which each of those things mean. So that's really important to me, is just providing more opportunities for women to know more about the games industry and have someone that they can ask questions to. I host Women in Games Coffee every month so that we bring women from different areas of the world together to ask questions or talk about challenges that we're having, just give us space to be open and transparent, and I really enjoy those. And then the Forge team is 50% women, which I'm, very happy about, and again, it's one of my passions.
Is it because you're heading it, as Cristina said earlier?
Yes, exactly. And for me, it's all about diversity, especially because we're working on multiple games with multiple developers. Each one of those games is for a slightly different audience, and so we need to make sure our team is diverse if we want to make games for diverse players. So that's really important to me.
Definitely. Thank you, Leanne. Michael.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Wait. Genau, very well pronounced. Thank you. So, Michael Liebe from Berlin. I work in the games industry, I don't know, but I started as a student doing philosophy of the computer game and the mediality of the computer game, focusing on rules and how they are a means of expression. And not in a narrative way, but more in how does if-then casualties explain things. That was my topic mainly. And I studied media studies, and we called it Mädchenwissenschaft, which would be girls' science, because it was 90% girls in the course, and I was one of the only boys. The curiosity I have mainly, and that's also one of the reasons why I support the Womenize initiative in Germany, is to better understand why there's such an imbalance in numbers. I'm echoing somewhere. In workforce, but especially in payment and in hierarchy. And that's a thing I personally want to fight for, because on an egoistic perspective, I can work better with women than with men. And I wanted to have more women in the industry so I can thrive.
Okay. So let's dive in the question that we should start with from the beginning. I think Dan and also Leanne kind of touched upon it, but I think it's important to emphasize it a bit. The reason why I have these questions as a starter is because last year when we started Women in Games, I was at Gamescom with Cristina's husband, actually. And Cristina's husband asked me, why do you make a Women in Games association? We don't have a problem with that in our industry. We don't have a problem with that in our country. We don't have these types of problems that I don't know what other countries have. Women and men are equal here. Okay. And I said, okay. So definitely, it's not clear for everyone that there is an inclusivity problem, or that the industry is not diverse enough. So it's some people believe that this is not the case, right? So I wanted to hear your thoughts about it, and after I hear your thoughts as panelists, I would really like if some of the viewers or participants, I see we have 48 viewers and 13 participants. I don't know the difference between them, but if they can also join and help us make it clear to everyone if there is a diversity problem or inclusivity problem, and if there's ever a need for such an association as Women in Games, or such a project, or some affirmative actions towards it. So if any of you want to start, it would be really nice.
I don't mind having an initial comment. To me, the way you frame that question is really, when you see that on a global average, it's about 20% women in the game industry. Whereas the player
it's similar
side,
in Romania.
right, and it kind of averages out to around 15 to 20% from market to market. And so that's the way it is on the industry side. And yet we know on the player side, on the consumer side, it's about gender parity. It's about equal for the most part. And so when people say there's not a problem on the industry side, it's like, well, let me ask you this. When you don't have the same percentage of people creating the games that are playing the games, is that a problem or not? And, if there's only 20% representation in the industry for a media that is consumed by everybody, of all genders, all racial backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and all that, I see that as a huge problem. Because the games we're creating should be created for that global multicultural audience. And when you're not having those people representing those backgrounds make the games, then I see that as a problem. And
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point, because there's a lot of people saying it just might not be an industry that is made for women. You don't have to be, an I don't know, a naval or shipbuilding where my father works. You don't have to necessarily have shipbuilding engineers as many women as men, right? But because this is an actual cultural industry, creative industry, then yes, it counts and it matters, and it should be better than it is right now. It doesn't, it's not the same as, building brick by brick or working in construction, right? It's exactly what you mentioned. It's a cultural thing. It's something consumed by people. Anyone else on the subject?
Well, I will talk mostly of my own experience. I can't really talk for Romania. Even if I worked with Romania a long time ago when I was working with Gameloft, I think it's too old to be really relevant of what is happening today. But in France, we still have a very huge difference. I think there is only 17% of women working in video game industry with all the marketing people. So it's even worse if you go onto the production side. And I think as a storyteller, it's even more a problem, because if you let always the same person telling the stories, we'll always get the same stories in the end. So I think that if we want more diverse experience, more diverse games, we need also more diverse storytellers on a very large point of view. Not just the one writing the story, but also bringing the pictures, the concept art, and all the creative part. So honestly, I've seen really a difference in many companies when they began to recruit some more diverse people to write stories. The stories evolved. We were not forgetting about the old ones. Something that is really coming often from some gamers and some people talking about that problem is that they're saying, well, but we love how games are they are. We don't want to change them. So bring these new people, we'll change our games, and we will, it's like we were a danger for the games. And it's crazy. These old games will stay as they are, and some games like that will continue to be created. But new people will create new games and bring some diverse and more different ideas. And I can't wait to discover all these new worlds. It's as a player myself, I really want to experiment new things. I'm really looking forward to plenty of people. There is an amazing team in Berlin that is developing a game that is called Ouagadougou Chronicles. I don't know if you heard about it. And it's a game based on African fantasy. And this is exactly the type of games that I can't wait to discover. And I'm still loving, the old Tolkien style fantasy. It's okay, but I want to discover some more. And I can't wait for more diverse stories. And I think that it's exactly what more diverse creators, whatever their origin, their ethnics, and their obviously genre will bring.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Diversity, it always enhances the creative sectors, and in general, creating a story, diversity is key. Definitely, for sure. So Dan, I think I would like to hear what you have to say about this, because you.
I think Michael wanted to talk.
He
Yes.
is okay.
Sorry, I don't know if we have like a system here with
No.
the teenage boy. I wanted to touch the topic of strategies of initiatives. What you just mentioned, the Vagado Chronicles. I worked with them for years. They're from Berlin, and I helped them with the Kickstarter campaign. We are called Womanize in Berlin. It's a very provocative name, and a lot of Americans don't really appreciate it. But we said, yeah, whatever, it has a meaning. Some people say you should call it diversify. That would be a lot more helpful for the industry. But my counter argument was always, no, I want to have a clear focus on women in games, because I don't see gay, LGBTQT, or cultural diversity being the same challenges or being in the same pot as the challenge we have with gender diversity, binary gender diversity. Do you agree, or am I wrong? That's basically a question.
It's maybe very culturally dependent. I think that it may be a different problem from a country to another. In France, we have a really high problem on diversity too. I mean, I think I know only 2 Black developers in France. I mean, it sounds crazy or stupid or anything. And we have, an important population of Black people. I mean, it's normal. But in the end, the only one I know, and I know a lot of developers in France, maybe not all of them, but really a lot of them. And I think it's also a problem. And we have some parts of the French territory that are, historically Black. So we really need to think about them too, and to include them into what we are, into the stories or games we are making. So I think it's something relevant in our country. Maybe it's completely different in Germany, and people are more included. And the look or origin, or as you see, also sexual orientation is not that relevant in Germany. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely a diversity, problem. But on the flip side, Michał, I think it is important that there is some focus. Obviously, we could say diversity and try and focus on everything. That might be a losing battle.
How will that work?
Yeah. So I do agree that there is a diversity concern across all different diversities. It's not just women in game, but at the same time, I'm a woman, so I can be a woman in games ambassador. I would find it very, difficult to advocate for diversities that I don't necessarily understand personally. And so I think that's the kind of framing I use is, okay, I'm a woman, I know how a woman thinks, and so I can help with that aspect of diversity by trying to bring in more women into the games industry. But I do think, we need to do a better job overall across all different genders, demographics, and diversities.
I agree. But I think also focus matters if you want to get anything done. And also you need to start small, especially like for us in Romania, even considering talking about other types of diversity issues and inclusivity is just...
it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Even women in games, this is something we find it hard to push off the ground,
Well, I think it is important, though, just to Michael's point, to focus is having I've seen a lot of diversity efforts fail because they don't focus, because they want to try and help everybody, which we all want to. I think we all have that in our heart, that we really want to help everybody have access to this industry. But if we don't focus to some degree, because the problems are unique, and to the earlier point, especially on a market-to-market basis, it's like, for example, in Japan, it's 98% ethnic Japanese. Are you going to change ethnic diversity in Japan? You're not. but can you change gender diversity? Absolutely, because we know that Japan tends to have a patriarchal society, and it really does have a huge effect on women in the industry there. So the challenge is going to be very different from place to place, but every single place has some kind of diversity challenge.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anyone from the audience who wants to say anything? Cristina, I will definitely let you conclude something on the question as well. But just if there's anyone in the audience that wants to talk about if there is an inclusivity problem or a diversity problem, a gender imbalance in our industry or not, now is your chance to talk. If not, we will go forward to our call to action, what we should actually do to attract more women. So I guess we'll go to that if Cristina doesn't want to conclude anything on the topic.
Yes, speaking of focus, I would like to tell you a bit about different direction that we are thinking about with our organization, Women in Games in Romania. Besides inclusion and diversity, which need to be addressed, we have our focus, our primary focus is on partnerships and contribution. So leaders in the game industry in Romania will get together and create programs, educational programs for the young generation. This is our main focus now. So I invite all men and women in the industry to join us. We have our strategy ready, so we will send you all the information, and our website will be also out by the end of the year. So
Cristina is doing a very hands-on promotional effort for the association. Thank you, Cristina. Okay, so I guess it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of fair to conclude that there is a problem. And talking about that, last year when we had our panel, I started talking with the panelists. They were all women, great women. So they were artists, producers, engineers, and they were all telling us how amazing the industry is. I see now Kate saying the same, how amazing the industry is, how great the people are, and everyone in general saying that. And so women in the industry find it amazing. And still, there are not a lot of women joining. There are not a lot of girls joining. So where is the problem? I guess this is where the call to action should start. And I guess this is where the what should we do question should start. So where do we find the problem? Women who join the industry have a great time here. Obviously, I'm sure that there are cases where this is not the case. I'm sure there are problems in terms of sexual harassment and a lot of problems that have been exposed in different ways in the past year or so. But mostly the attitude that we receive as women in the industry is positive, and we have a great time being in the industry. So why aren't we more? And what can we do to have more women in the industry? I guess this is the main question. I think Leanne should, if possible, start with this, and then maybe Michael, because you're actively working on doing these type of actions.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
women in games and with Womanize.
Yeah, and I think it does start at a young age as well. I do think there's still a stereotype associated with video games. You know, it's, oh, boys play video games when you're younger, and that's not a girl's activity when you're, a child. So I do think there's an educational layer there, and there's some great organizations in LA specifically that I've been helping with as well that are trying to create more programs for girls at school. Riot does Girls Who Code, and there's other organizations that are really trying to break that stereotype and make it more acceptable for girls to be into video games and be passionate about video games when they're a child. Because I do still think, play video games, feel good about playing video games, and not something you have to hide because it's a boys thing. So I do think it starts at school and it starts at home as well. If parents see that their girls are passionate about playing video games, it's about encouraging that. There are some great careers and job opportunities in games for all different types of diversities. And so that's one aspect. I think that will take a long time to change because it's kind of systematic, it's stereotypical and it's how we've grown up, especially when I think about back when I was a child, games were definitely for boys, and that was the message that was given. I think that definitely has changed quite a bit in the last 20 so years, but still we have a lot of work to do there. And then the other element is providing platforms for women coming out of university or college, or women looking to start their career, to know that games is an opportunity, and there are more roles available outside of like marketing. There are production, engineering, artists, musicians, communications. There's so many different opportunities that I think we need to make more visible, and that's what the Women in Games platform is really great at, is kind of just making a lot of that stuff more visible to women.
So how do you make it visible? What kind of programs do you have in LA?
Yeah, so like I said, the Girls That Code is an awesome program. We bring,
Girls That Code, you have that in Romania as well.
Yeah. The Women's in Games, like doing regular events, bringing women together to talk about, potentially some concerns they have or fears that women have, to talk through that situation. I also think another great program is helping women to create their CVs or resumes, because, as we know, it's been proven that men tend to apply to a job when they are 60% qualified, and women don't apply for a job until they are 100%, 95% qualified for the job. And so again, it's about providing workshops and events for women to believe in themselves and be prepared to write the resume, the CV in the right way, and have prep for interview processes as well.
I agree, and I think Michael was asking Leanne was asking Jehanne about the student sponsor program that you are running.
Yeah, well, it's something brand new. We created that last year, so it's still the very beginning. But the idea is really to be able to accompany some young people. And the idea is to communicate a lot with schools. So before college, we're really trying to communicate. We're using and we are talking a lot with influencers that are well known towards the young public. We asked them to talk about the association and also the scholarship, and it's also a way to present different jobs in the industry and to present different faces for this type of job. So, for example, I was invited to talk about what I'm doing in the industry, just to show some young audience that video game can be done by plenty of different people, and of course, women. So by having some, I would say, old developers and old female developers coming and talking, using these influencers as a kind of support or as a kind of, connection or linked toward a younger audience. It allowed us to be able to connect with a younger audience. It may not be the only solution. We've done also some events into some schools, but it takes a lot more time. I mean, if you want to go into every school in your country, just to be sure that the message is well heard by the younger audience, it's a bit difficult. As if you're doing this kind of platforms with influencers that are well known in your country.
And have a large audience.
Yeah, and that have a lot of young audience, it can be really, really helpful. So we're doing that. And I'm also participating to the Women in Game France program. So I know that there are also some workshops where they learned to female developers to talk in front of an audience, so they can be more part into some panels and conferences, because there was still, I don't know if it's still the same in Romania, but it was still difficult for women to be chosen to participate to panels or conferences in France. It's not much the case for me because, once again, I'm the old one and nearly everyone knows about me, but it's not the same for younger developers, and it was difficult for some of them to be invited to participate some conferences other than the one organized by Women in Games. So it is changing now, and there is really a kind of politics to bring some more parity to all the panels, and it's working. And these workshops that are completely free and open to all female developers is really helping.
I agree, and I think that's great. Actually, come to think of it, talking about schools and young audiences, I think in Romania, even as a boy, a school boy, if you would come and be and say, "Oh, I'm a game designer," they would be like, "What? What's a game designer?" So I think actually the occupations that are specific for our industry have to be more promoted anyway. But I think what's important and what we can do here is when we do promote, as RGDA, for example, the Romanian Game Developers Association and the Women in Games Romania Association, I think that when we do promote these great occupations, these great jobs, we should always make sure that we have women and men professionals coming and joining, so that girls also know that this is something for them as well. I see the public chat is kind of is quite interesting. It's quite an interesting discussion going on. It touches upon the subject that we talked about in our previous question. So there's Francis, who, if you want to say something, Francis, please do live on chat as well, on speaking as well, not only on the chat. So he says that it seems that women in Romania are discriminated a lot based on their sexual orientation, and they're maybe marginalized because of their mental health issues. What are your thoughts on this, and what do you think we should do to improve this in Romania? This is a question actually towards myself, Dan, and Cristina, so the Romanian part of the panelists. And then our colleague Dragos Inoan, who's also a member of RGDA, says that women are not discriminated for sexual orientation in Romania. So exactly what I was talking about. This is an actual debate, and it has to be touched upon. There's a lot of people, a lot of men, and also women. I don't say that that's not true. Believe that women are not sexually discriminated so for their sexual orientation, and I think that's a very us against them not idea, but philosophy, and I don't think that's what we should do at all. I think with Women in Games, and that's why we have the two panelists, men here as well, it should not be an us versus them thing. It should be an all community being inclusive for everyone. So men and women in the industry actively welcoming girls and boys and women and men in the industry. I think it's about that. I am trying to read through what's still going on here, but until I read that through, Michael, if you can say a few words on what type of programs you have in Germany with Womanize, that would be really nice.
Sure. The idea is not mine. It was Ruth Lemon, who worked for the German Game Association, the Publisher Association. back in the days, and she said, Michael, let's do something. And I saw my role more in enabling and creating the platform and sort of doing the background work. So I co-founded a lot of initiatives in my life and worked on a lot of networks and public benefit stuff on the side. And the number one learning is you need two things for it to be successful. One is you need a running infrastructure, which means you need people who can who can invest time into it, also during the day. To enable that, you need money. So those are the two ingredients you need. So my expertise came in public funding. So I was the guy arranging public funding and sponsorings and whatever. So we could start Womanize in 2015. And I would say like 5 years in, we are still there. That's pretty cool. The things the offers we have are very well, are very much connected to the events we run. So it's mostly featuring heroes, as we call them. So bringing people on stage who are inspiring without being too high in a level. So Kate, sorry, but you're not a hero anymore. You're the Grand Master of hero-ness. You are there. It's very difficult to achieve what you have achieved. But like people who are in the midfields, right? Project managers, I don't know, level designers. These people who are very seldomly seen on stage, but are very inspiring for students, for example, to say, hey, if she can do that, I can also do it. So this is one measure we take, which then is good for us because we can also put these heroes onto the Cuvade stage, our male-dominated game development programs. That's one thing. The other thing that was mentioned in LA, we do very similar things like workshops for CVs, workshops for how to behave in, not behave and sort of be nice and polite, but how to achieve your, how do you say it in English, your salary debates, how to negotiate your salary well. Why should you say yes if you are invited on stage? It's also part of the imposter syndrome. Confidence building, genau. And I also see what we are not doing too much, but what I think would help is leadership training. So sort of telling not the HR people, but the executive level people, hey, just put this woman on the task, even if she says no. Because she might say no rather for the same reasons what you were mentioning before for not applying for a job. So challenging the talent in people. This is something we try to support, but the official program basically is only to give inspiring figures a stage and to have funding for that.
I agree, and I think this confidence building that I was mentioning earlier is also very important. I recently had my first child, and I was up for running elections for the European Game Developers Federation in the board as a vice president of the European Game Developers Federation, and I was there for 2 years, and they asked me if I want to get re-elected, so if I want to do that again. And I said to the Secretary General, Jari, I would feel so ashamed. I know that for the next 6 months, I will not be able to fully 100% dedicate my time to the Federation. And Jari, who's from a country that is very forward-looking, so Finland, he said, oh my God, Andreea, we should be ashamed. She said, some women, if they want, they're bearing children. This should not be something that stops you from achieving what you want or doing what you want. So we'll help you get through these 6 months. We'll fill in the spot, and then afterwards you'll be your full capacity self. So I think that's very important for women. I think this is a very important. There's a discussion in the public chat about if Romania does enough to hire more women, or if there are Romanian companies that hinder hiring women because of the fact that women might have kids, and it's hard if they stop. To have it clear for you guys, because this is something very different from all other countries. When I lived in Belgium, it was 3 months, the maternity leave. In Romania, if you want to, you can have 2 years, 2 years paid maternity leave. So that's an actual issue that needs to be discussed in terms of hiring and how these things work. Dragos, I don't think it's something that women that companies should actively and somehow forcefully hire more women than men, but making sure that women are invited to the table. I think that's quite important. I think that's quite important, and I see also a message about not only hiring but also retaining women in the industry. What do you guys think that retaining women in the industry is? How can we retain more women in the industry? Apparently, that's a very big problem also around across different countries, not only in Romania. Women join the industry, but for some reason they stop after a few years, either because they get married or have kids, or I don't know, different reasons. Do you feel that this is something that happens in your own countries as well? And if so, how do you tackle that?
I could just say really quickly that yes, retention is a huge problem, because I hear more stories about women who left the industry, and it's not necessarily because of maternity policy and things of that nature, even though like here in the US, there is no government, mandate for maternity leave, which is really tragic. But that's a whole nother issue. But most of the women I know who leave the industry, it's because of the toxic environment in those companies. It's because they don't feel supported in the company. They don't feel that management makes diversity and inclusion a priority. And especially one of the biggest points is that they don't feel that there's opportunity, because the company doesn't open up senior level positions to a lot of women, or they don't do enough hiring into senior level positions. And all you have to do is look at some of these companies, like look at who's in the C-suite, the C-level people, and look at the senior managers. Are there any women at all in that structure? And if there aren't, then I know for a lot of women who want to go into a certain company, that's a huge red flag, because it's showing that this company, they either are not seeing women as talented enough or qualified enough to fill those roles, or there could be other barriers that exist in that company for fulfilling their roles. So that lack of career path and lack of opportunity is one of the key reasons I hear for a lot of colleagues I know who left companies.
I'm curious to understand if this is a problem in Romania as well. If anyone from the chat who expressed opinions about this could join us and say something about it, or maybe some of the HR and recruiting girls from EA, Gameloft, or Ubisoft that are joining us today, if they can talk a bit about what they're doing to attract more women and retain more women, that would be really nice if any of you wants to do that. If not,
And Maria also asked about numbers. If we have numbers and information about
we
how
have,
many
it's around
women
20%.
are in the game industry in
It's around
Romania,
20%. I've done it at
how
RGDA,
many leave.
but not any numbers.
Yeah, we have
Women, so we don't really have a study on that. But I think that's what women in games Romania could be doing. So get actual numbers and get actual feedback. Yeah.
Yes, and we will this year.
Yeah.
We will conduct formal research this year, so we will have the numbers.
Okay, so
nice.
in terms of so maybe we can stop the chat discussion that is a bit not stop it all completely, but it's taking a life on its own, with Dragos and Francis discussing this on different topics. If there are any other questions, let us know, and I will go to the last question that we have.
Can I just say one thing regarding the retention of female developers? I think, well, in France, I know that it's one of the problems. Obviously, it's not the only one. The toxic environment is something that is very problematic. And we had plenty of Me Too moments in France that you say, believe me, it's something that is really, really important. But I think that there is another point that we should maybe think about as CEOs or as managers in video game is the crunch time. The fact that there is a lot of crunch time development is also something that can be very negative to attract and to keep women in the industry, because when you have not only your job but also your family to take care of, it may be after a while something that is exhausting, and to the point that you will need to leave just to preserve yourself and to preserve your family. So, and it's maybe something cultural, because it's true that in France there are still this old, fashion vision of the fact that women are the one taking care of the children. But well, the fact is that it's something that can be difficult, and that can really be a problem for women who want to stay in the video game, but that just can't stand, both things. So I think that crunch is bad, whatever, really, whatever you are. But we need to address that point if we want to keep in a more healthy way people into the game industry, and I think moreover to keep women into the video game industry.
That's a very good point, and completely agree.
We have a question from Camila. If you can read it, Andreea. It's about poor communities.
Yes. I thought it's about the one in Latin America. How would you work in including girls from poor communities to the IT field? I think Dragos has a great point. So it's about going for cheap computers like Raspberry Pis and helping them have the infrastructure to start doing what they would like to do, or what they should be studying. I think that's a great point. We'll have to really dig deep in the last question, because it's very important. That's why we can't have all the questions in the chat. But I definitely advise you, there's the Women in Games Facebook group that's been active, actually that's been passive but active on Facebook for the past 2 years. You guys should be putting things up for debate there. You should definitely start discussions. I would love for discussions to be held there. This is definitely just touching the surface of women in games and diversity issues in the country. So this is just a small event to create the need, to create the interest in such a discussion. We can't really talk about it all, but definitely our Facebook group is there. Our website will be there, but till then our Facebook group is there. Women in Games Romania. Please join, ask questions, get involved. I think that's very important. Women in Games Romania cannot actually function with only Andreea and Cristina trying to do something about it. That's definitely not going to work. I will definitely want to and offer a platform for women to speak out and point out the issue. Yes, this is Francis. This is something that will. Yeah,
so
we'll definitely. This is something that we should definitely talk on the on the Facebook group, because I don't have the answers right now. I mean, this is something that we should discuss all of us together and find the importance of these topics and how to tackle them. So just as a conclusion for the last 10 minutes, it would be, I just want you as panelists to talk a bit about what can we as women or men do more, myself personally, yourselves personally, do more to create a more inclusive society. Not society, sorry. Well, also society, but industry. I think that's very important. So, what us women can do, I'll just start. Is just showing face. It's just being brave enough to do talks like this. I mean, I completely, I'm so scared of doing talks. I did a talk last year on consoles publishing, and I was like pushed by Dan's co-founder to do it, and I was so scared. I knew everything about it, but I was so scared to do it because the fear of failure. This is something also women have a lot. You know, the fear of failure is. It's so important to us. You know, I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't have the confidence to do it. So show face and make sure that you're the example that somebody needs to step up. That's mine. And everyone else, they can also join.
Okay. So what we can also do is to raise awareness for the industry events, do make educational programs, networking events, mentorships. All of these projects are written in our strategy already in our organization, so we have work to do. Also, we need ambassadors for this organization. So in our website, you will find all the information. So this is what we will do together. And also what we want to do together is to have roundtables, events about the advantages and the disadvantages in the industry, and also what is good and then not so good playing games. So we have to balance information and staying on the objective side. I don't know. We have to be smart, and also we have to be inclusive. But we also have to contribute as leaders in our country. I mean, with the educational programs.
Kate, I'm taking you as I see you in the.
I would say one of the things, in addition to what you both said, which I think is great, is we need to also be willing to step up and mentor and to be role models. You know, for those of us who are established in the industry, there's a particular joy that comes with mentoring and with lending your help and expertise. It's not that time consuming to do it. It's just having the will and the interest in helping other people. And it's actually one of the reasons I love this industry so much, is because I see on a global scale such a great collaborative basis, because we're kind of all part of the same, you know, group or tribe or whatever you want to call us, where game developers tend to help each other. And I love that. And I think, you know, in order to get more people, underrepresented people in this industry, we have to make a specific effort to reach out to these groups and to help, you know, and to mentor, provide advice, whatever it might be. Because I think the best dynamic we see is on that one-to-one level, where you're helping someone out and giving them good advice and kind of making connections for them and whatnot. The more we can do that, I think that's really going to help.
Agreed. Jehanne?
I completely agree with Kate. I think that we really need to help each other. There is a kind of sisterhood feeling that we should have with the younger people joining the industry, but not only that, all the people who are interested to join, by advising, but also protecting them in some ways. I had a case a few months ago. A friend of mine called me about another friend of her that was having, you know, she was in a situation of sexual harassment, and she asked me to help. And even if it was not inside my own company, as I know a lot of people, I just gave a few calls just to make sure that he was safe and that this situation would never happen again. So it's what 10 minutes of my time, maybe it's more, but I mean it's nothing. And in the end, it's reassuring for this girl that some other women around were noticing the problem, were acting, and were trying to change things. And I think that is something that is really important, being supportive to all the other girls. We don't need conference. We don't need to fight each other. We need to help each other. And it's completely true too for male, for our male and friends and colleagues into the industry. They can be very supportive to that by just being, by hearing what their female colleagues can say, and by trying to also push them to talk in front of the other people to be role models for younger audience. So, I was a bit surprised by this invitation when I looked at the different panels of the event. I noticed that there were not that many women participating to other panels, and this is
Exactly.
something that normally refused. It's because it was a different situation. It's not a country when I'm used to participate, but normally I'm always refusing to participate panels that are like where the only panel where there are girls is the one that is talking about girls.
Talking about
I
girls.
I mean, it's very. Of course, this talk is important, but it would be more important to have some other women inside the other panels sharing, their ideas and their experience about their work to all other subjects. So this is just my way of participating to all that.
100%, 100%. I agree. That's a very good point. That's a very good point, and that's why I wanted this panel to focus inward. So to focus in the community, and I mean to talk to the community and be like, you guys, we should step up. How do we do it? So how do we do it, Dan? Because you're next.
To be honest, I don't have any idea. I mean, but I have two issues. One of them is that I'm not sure where's the disconnect between, kids that play video games, and could be boys or girls. My girls would play video games all day if I would let them. I'm not letting them play all day, not because they're girls, because it's maybe not healthy, to spend your entire day in front of the computer. So we come from that where there is no difference, and we get to I don't know where. I'm not sure if I would go to one of the universities in Romania, like arts or programming. How many people, how many girls compared to how many boys are actually entering the university because they like programming? And if there are fewer girls that go there because they like programming, where did we lose them? Or maybe it's not something we can change. Maybe it's just something that, girls are different. But if we're doing something wrong, that's where we need to work. I know my experience in working in the games industry is that girls that code are few, but they are in general happy in the industry. But there are many more artist women in the Romanian games industry than there are women programmers. But it's easier for the artist women to be dissatisfied with whatever they're working there. So that's also a problem, how to keep the job interesting for them. To be honest, I think the same issue applies to male artists, because it's very easy, in my experience, to find a job in the corporate game development industry in Romania and spend years doing textures for worlds. And when you're an artist that is really enthusiastic, that will be soul-crushing for you. And I'm not an artist myself, so maybe I'm just projecting what I'm, observing. But I think that could be an issue. Other than that, there's something I want to touch upon. One of you talked about one-on-one, helping people.
Mentorship.
So, yeah, I'm a guy. And guys that do one-on-one mentorship are grooming girls, or that's a term I recently learned. It's not kosher.
The Twitter.
Yeah, it's I don't think I ever did that, but it's something I apparently need to be aware of. It's not an issue I'm facing day to day, but it's something to consider, to be honest. And that's all I have to say.
That's honest.
Just on that point, really quick, because I hear that a lot. Because it's a valid concern. Because I know guys are a bit wary of having like one-on-one interaction. So a solution for that is because I think it's very important for men to be mentors for women and women to be mentors for men as well. But one of the solutions I've seen is several of my guy friends who are long-term colleagues, they mentor 2 or 3 girls at a time. So they have them like on a call together, because you can still get very quality interaction with people, even if there's 2 or 3 people with you, rather than having like a massive group. So that could be a solution.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great idea. That's a good one. And that's an honest, how can I say it? An honest scare, let's say, when it comes to men helping raise diversity in the industry. So I agree. Michael?
I come back to the initial point, money, fundraising. What I've heard a lot is great initiatives, and I think we can help best if we support financially as an industry to these initiatives. For me, as being in the boys club, I noticed what's really crucial is language. It's more a European thing, less an English speaker thing. But we have RZS, so we have gender in our language. And if we say something in German like the boss, it's der Boss, he boss. So these are things we can only be conscious about and try to always listen to ourselves while we talk. We in our company and at our events initiated an open sort of no, this is not the right way to say it policy. So whenever I say der Boss, Lena in this case says no, it's I don't know how you would say that in English now, but die Chefin, so the she-boss, she boss, sorry. Complicated, but it's worth it. It makes a big difference also in self-perception on how society is structured. There's also a thing like Putzfrauentest, German language school 101. Putzfrauentest is the cleaner lady test, which is an American invention of the marketing people who say, hey, if the stupid cleaner lady understands it, it's well communicated.
Cleaning lady, yeah.
So there's 2 bad things. A, cleaners are stupid, and B, ladies are stupid, and cleaner ladies are ultra stupid. So no, don't say that. Even though it's a concept that makes sense, you would find a new term for it and say, hey, let's do the test, for example. I don't know yet. No, it's spontaneous.
Yeah,
but
so
language is one of the keys.
It's quite a lot of things, basically. It's quite a lot of things to do. It's about you yourself, whatever you do, know that you can be a role model, so step up. It's about education. It's about mentorship. It's about creating a safe space for women if they need to talk to other women about things that are happening in their companies. Then other women should be able to make them feel safe to express what is happening. It's about mentoring as men without the fear of having their intentions what's the word
misinterpreted.
Misinterpreted. Yes, exactly. And it's also about language, but also about money. And it's true about in terms of money, because that also means more indie developers, women creating their own indie games. They need funding. They need funding to do that. And I think that's important. And it's also about having women on top, as Cristina said, and as Leanne said, that had to leave, unfortunately. As Leanne said, because they are on top of their company. 50% are women there, so we need more women on top. That's definitely one of the things to go home with. But that was yeah, I think everyone should have known that from the beginning. So thank you very much for a very interesting talk. I would like to talk to you 10 hours more. Thank you also for the interest that got sparked in the public chat. I would love that all these issues would be raised in the Women in Groups, Women in Game Facebook group. It's a private group, so you should be. How can I say that? Just don't mind talking about raising any issues that have relevance with women in games and diversity in Romania, and just join the group and let's start a discussion there. We've just touched the surface. I also encourage the HR men and women in big and small companies that are present in the public in Romania to reach out to myself or Cristina. It's easier to reach out to me now because your RGDA members and you know how to reach me. Just reach me and I'll put you in contact with Cristina as well. Reach me so we see what we can do together. As Women in Games Romania. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. My little girl is screaming literally for the past hour with small intermittencies. I hear her. So thank you for joining. I'll go on mommy duty now. Thank
Great.
you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, the audience as well. Bye.
All right. Bye.